Hi, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. Oh, sorry I've arrived a little bit late. Usual chaos, just as I'm about to go live, all hell breaks loose. And not really, but no, I was contacted. I had to message. One of my nieces is coming out in August and I'm really looking forward to seeing her. And she was just asking for some advice about, some things. So I had to answer her because she's trying to plan it at the moment. She's also a teacher, but of course she's in the UK, so she's on half term at the moment. So she's making the most of a little bit of spare time she's got to make some plans for the summer. Okay, so what we're going to talk about in this video is Rachel's, I keep saying Rachel's trial, of course, not Rachel who's on trial. This is Rachel Morin, who was brutally killed, not last summer, but the summer before. It's taken all this time to come to this point of hopefully justice for Rachel is within sort of touching point. Of course, her alleged killer, he went on the run. He wasn't really on the run, I don't know. He was working. He's one of those people. Her alleged killer is one of those people. He's sort of crafty like a fox. Do you know what I mean? So I wouldn't say he's the sharpest tack in the block because he left quite a lot of DNA at the scene. He's quite young. He's a lot younger than he looks. He's only in his early 20s. He'd already killed someone in his home country of El Salvador, another woman. He obviously has got a problem with women. And problem probably is that they don't like him. He sort of was roaming around the USA, really. Had also committed another atrocity in Los Angeles. So this is the USA. He sneaked over the border. After his third attempt, he managed to get over the border from fleeing from El Salvador, where he'd originally already killed a woman. Then he went to Los Angeles, committed a terrible crime there. And then off he went to Maryland, which is right over the other side of America. So he's been all over America. He then murdered poor Rachel. And then he was eventually arrested in Oklahoma. So he's done quite a bit of traveling, this guy. So he's sort of, I wouldn't say he's clever, he's crafty, isn't he? You know, he managed to sort of move around for quite a long time before he was eventually tracked down, arrested, and he's now on trial. And, you think, well, it's not looking good for him, thank God. But of course, being the twonk that he is, he didn't just, plead guilty and spare. Rachel's 5 children and 2 of her older daughters have had to actually testify already at the trial, so you can imagine what that was like for them. And then there's the rest of Rachel's family, friends, etc. He's putting everybody through. He's saying he was never even in Maryland. Oh, couldn't have been him. Couldn't have been him. He's not been to Maryland. Do you know what I mean? No. So I'm hoping, obviously, that the prosecution are going to come up with some proof that he was in Maryland. Maybe some digital proof, maybe because I think he was there for quite a long time, allegedly. He wasn't just there for that weekend that he killed Rachel. He was there, he's got family there. Anyway, this will come out hopefully in the trial. So the trial started Friday, then there was like a weekend break. So we're on the third, we will be on the third day when the trial starts again, sort of American time, later on today as far as my time is concerned in Spain. I think that'd be day 3. So there was Friday opening statements. Monday, there were, what I'm going to tell you is what happened Friday and Monday. And then the trial will, carry on now. It's booked in for 2 weeks, which I thought was quite short for a trial like this. So basically, that means the defence has got nothing, nada, zilch. So what the defence are doing is, because they've got nothing, they're sort of trying to cast aspersions on other people, like Rachel's boyfriend at the time. They made, saying it was a crime of passion, etc. It's horrible. The I know defence teams have to do their job. That's what they're there for, to defend. But sometimes they just sink so low. They've been making comments about Rachel's appearance, saying how attractive she was to men. As if what's that got to do with it, really? But I think what they're trying to do is build a picture that it could have been any man, not necessarily this man. Because Rachel was so attractive, it could have been anyone. And it was someone who had, more of a crime of passion, they're saying, because her phone was flung on the floor and broken. She was probably trying to use it to ring for help, and that's probably how it got taken off her and flung on the phone and broken. But anyway, this is what that's all the defence have got. Because there's DNA, they're trying to cast suspicion on the DNA, say it's not reliable. There's lots of things they're trying to do, but it doesn't seem that they're being very successful. I hope to God, I pray to God, but I doubt if they are. Anyway, so I do have a source, if you like, very, very reliable source, who is going to the trial, and they're sending me information about what's actually happening at the trial, because obviously I'm not at the trial, so I have to follow information that's given by the media, because mainstream media, because I have no other choice than that. But it's good now that this person has contacted me, and they are 100% reliable source about what is going on in this trial. So I'm going to read it. They don't want their name revealed, but they don't mind me telling you, what they're telling me, if you like. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you how it's reported from them. We are going to look at a couple of mainstream media reports, if you like. And, as with everything, it's awful, really, because we should be able to trust the mainstream media, but we can't, because they do give their own narrative, don't they? But maybe that's just to be expected. They present things from a certain point of view, I suppose, just same as me. I present things from my view. This guy is a twonk, and I just can't wait for this trial to be over, and he's just locked away and never sees the light of day again, if he's guilty, of course. We've all got our points of view. So I suppose even the mainstream media, though they're supposed to be completely impartial, aren't they? They're not in this case, definitely not. We definitely hear a lot about the narrative they are pursuing with this is this narrative of it's all about the illegal immigrants, but there's no evidence to show that that rules could have been any tighter, because Victor the Viper, he sneaked over the border. He didn't come over the border through any other route. He wasn't allowed in. How do you stop people sneaking over the border? And I think we have to remember as well, it does work the other way as well, because quite often criminals from America, they go over the border to Mexico, to try and escape justice. So just so happens there is a border there, and it does have to be controlled better. I mean, I can see that. And then this thing about once somebody's in the country, they can just roam around it like this guy has. It does need to be looked at, does need to be challenged, because it took them a long time to find Victor Martinez Hernandez. And you just think, why did it take so long? But, when they had his DNA, so surely then maybe they should, this. I just don't know. Like, if he tried 3 times to get over the border and he was sent back 3 times, why didn't they take his DNA then? Maybe that's an answer. I don't know. I don't know I'm not here to cure the world's problems, but I'm just here to seek justice for Rachel and any other victim, this woman and her children, her 5 children, and especially the older ones who've had to actually testify. It just must have been awful. Anyway, so let's have a look. I'll say hello to everybody first. I better put my banner on. I always forget my banner. Just say thank you to everyone. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you especially for caring about Rachel and her family. And thank you for being a subscriber. If you're not subscribed, please consider it. Please like and share this video, and don't forget to press notifications for updates on this trial and other cases, of course, that we're following. Special thanks as always to my members and to anyone who's sent me a Ko-fi or a super sticker, etc. Nice email, left a nice message. Thank you so much. And hello to all you lurkers out there. Those of you who don't like to join in the chat, hi. Thank you for watching. Hi to replay crew. And now I'm going to say hello to those of you who are here in the chat. Hi, David. Hi, Tracy. Oh, Tracy was first this morning. Hi, Tracy. Hi, David. Hi, sheep farming. Yeah, zigzagging across the country to avoid arrest. Yeah. But the thing is, anyway, I don't know. It'll come out in the trial. Hopefully, that's what we hope. So first of all, we're just going to have a look at a couple of official reports. If you like. Oh, what have I done there? Pressing the wrong thing. Right. Try again. Just a couple of short news reports. First of all,
brutal murder, her loved ones believe they are one step closer to justice. The trial for the man accused of killing her began this last week. And while the prosecution described the crime as a, quote, mother's worst nightmare, Rachel's mother sat in that courtroom holding back tears. Disturbing details also coming to light this week. Prosecutors saying that volunteers followed a 150-foot trail of blood to find her body. Morin's alleged killer, Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez.
Yeah, so there's some quite gruesome details coming out now. Yesterday was apparently very graphic, talking about the crime scene. There were pictures shown of Rachel, after she was found. Must have been very traumatic for the people that found her. Very traumatic for her family to know that this monster, allegedly, what he did to her. He really is a monster. And he's not only a monster, but he looks so insignificant. I think he's a person who would probably sort of blend in a bit because he just doesn't look, apart from the eyes. You can see in the eyes there, but, he's he's not an imposing figure, that you might necessarily notice. I think he probably sort of blended in as quite an insignificant person.
Began his suspected crime spree in his native country of El Salvador, where he's accused of murdering a woman in December of 2022. In early 2023, he crossed the U.S. southern border 3 times, but was expelled each time by Border Patrol. He finally succeeded on his 4th attempt. After that, he traveled to Los Angeles, where he's linked to the assault of a woman and a 9-year-old girl, before making his way to Maryland and allegedly taking Rachel Morin's life. Earlier.
Now look at his resume. He's not even, I think he's 22, 23 years old. Look what he's done already. 2 murders and 1 RAPE of a child, an attack on her mother. We don't know the full details of the Los Angeles attack. I presume he'll be going for trial for that. I don't know if he will or not. But, look at that. I bet his mum and dad are proud of him, aren't they? I think he was quite close to his grandma. I wonder what she thinks of him now. That's, God, he's not even hardly got started in life, and that's the devastation he's already left behind at that early age. So thank God he was caught, because this man, he was not stopping. To be honest, I'd be surprised if there aren't other crimes linked to him that might come up. Hopefully not, but he was on the run for 10 months. So did he really spend all that time not doing anything again like this? I mean, this is what he thinks is acceptable, to attack people, attack women. And if they don't want to know, if they're not interested in him in a normal way, he just thinks he can take what he wants. So I'd be very surprised he hasn't done anything else. But anyway, maybe not. But at least he's stopped now. He won't be doing anything more, will he? He won't be attacking any more vulnerable women. That's the only thing, the only comfort, if you like, can take from this. Well, if he's found guilty, of course. I mean, I have to keep remembering it's allegedly.
This year, Rachel's mother came on News Nation Prime and disclosed a haunting parallel between her and her daughter.
I would never have imagined being where I am today. When I was 14, I was...
Now, this is something that now her mum is coming out with that I hadn't heard before. I don't know what this is, but this is her mum, Patty. Anyway, I've sort of got mixed feelings about this, because now Patty's coming out and saying that she was abducted when she was a teenager and RAPD'd.
I was kidnapped by a criminally insane man. He came into my house, took me. We walked for 60 miles over a 3-day period. Didn't eat, didn't sleep, was raped at night. We were heading towards the Canadian border when a police officer drove by on this back road and saw me. They weren't expecting to find me alive. So when I got the story, or not the story, but the information that Rachel was missing.
Rachel's a very beautiful woman, isn't she? And she's one of those women. She's in her late 30s. She looked after herself, and now the defence seem to think of that as something that I don't know. They put this negative connotation on it. It's like you're not supposed to look after yourself and make the best of your appearance if with your own money. If you decide to have any, I don't know that Rachel had anything done or did whatever. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, it's nobody else's business but hers anyway. But she's a very beautiful woman, and to all intents and purposes, from what I can gather, she was a beautiful person on the inside as well, and a really good mum.
And that they had found her body. It really tore me apart, because a part of me could understand some of what she suffered, because I had suffered the same thing.
I want to bring in Randolph Rice now, the attorney and spokesperson for Rachel Morin's family. Randolph, appreciate you making the time again, and let's get into this. The trial now underway. How is the Morin family doing, particularly her mother, who I understand had a very rough day on Friday during the opening statements?
Yeah, Natasha, she really did have a rough day, because she heard a lot of new information that she had never heard before, but she thankfully had the support of her daughter and one of her sons there, and she expects to have another son there this week. So I think the tight family, the strong family, is certainly supporting her, and they're supporting each other throughout this trial.
What are some of the details that came out this week that we were not aware of before?
Well, certainly, I mean, finding out about this 150-foot trail of blood, we never knew about that. We really, to be honest with you, Natasha, didn't know much at all, because the state's attorney played this so close to the vest, which they did on purpose, and that's what ultimately gave them.
Yeah, I think the prosecutors, the state's attorney, they've done a really good job of keeping things quiet, because especially with a trial like this, which is so high profile, you know, you've got to be very careful, haven't you? Because the defence is going to use any excuse that they can to cast some sort of doubt on the, or you know, the authenticity of the trial or the fairness, etc. So they have done well to keep all the details as secret as possible, you know, in a situation like this. So there are the things that are coming out that even the family didn't know, you know, so it's not as if all the family knew or nobody knew, because it's all been kept under wraps waiting for this day or this trial. And I think they did the right thing there.
That quick voir dire, that quick jury selection that they thought was going to take a long time, ultimately took about a day and a half. So learning about that, we learned about iPods and or earbuds and her watch and her phone and how they had to, or they reconstructed that. And we're going to learn this week exactly what information and data that's going to give us.
And I understand the prosecution told jurors that Morin's alleged killer had searched Rachel's name online. He had actually watched YouTube videos about her death. Do you think this type of digital evidence, in addition to the DNA?
Gosh, you know, that sort of gave me the creeps, because he's actually watched YouTube videos. Now, I've done loads of YouTube videos about Rachel. I've covered Rachel's case right from the beginning, all through the search for that monster, alleged monster, you know. So it just made me think, I thought, God, maybe he's watched my videos. Oh, I hope he has. Because I've never had anything nice to say about him, that's for sure.
DNA evidence that you were discussing with us last time will help convince a jury of guilt here.
Certainly, that's just one more piece of the puzzle. You know, they've got the DNA that obviously matches at the crime scene. We learned that there was certainly, from the rape, there was DNA left at the crime scene. But now we've got him searching her name, looking for her photos. So that's just one more piece that connects him. Why would he be selecting or searching these things on Google if he really had no contact or no connection with her?
I want to talk about what the defense is shaping up to do here. It seems already they're looking to cast reasonable doubt and suggesting that because Morin's phone was smashed and destroyed, that her murder was a, quote, crime of passion, implying Morin's boyfriend could have been involved. What do you make of this strategy? What does the family make of this?
Well, I think that the defense really doesn't have much to work with, so they're trying to grasp any straw they have, and that was just one of the three prongs. The one of which was the, you know, what motive did this suspect have? What connection did he have with her? And the third being is that there was no DNA left behind from the boyfriend who she'd been with earlier that day. So this seems to be that attempt to say that there was some other suitor, some other jilted lover that was out there. But it seems to be falling flat. Even on the first day of questioning, they really couldn't connect the dots with the witnesses that took the stand.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below.
Okay, we're going to look at another one. Oh.
Chilling testimony in the trial of the man accused of killing Bel Air mother of 5, Rachel Morin. Today, the jury heard the 911 calls from the people who found her body. Harford County community reporter Ashley Paul is following all the developments from inside the court.
Yeah, so they've heard the 911 calls from the people that found Rachel.
An emotional 911 call played throughout the courtroom as Cecilia Ocorso tearfully alerts the dispatcher that she and her friend Evan Knapp found Rachel Morin's body back on August 6, 2023. Ocorso telling the dispatcher Knapp could see Morin's head bashed in and that she felt like she was going to pass out. The dispatcher told her to sit down, and that's when Ocorso testified she noticed blood spatter on the ground all around her. We also heard from several members of the Harford County Sheriff's Office who arrived on scene, including those who found Morin's smashed Apple Watch and cell phone. Among them was Forensic Services Corporal Brad Gaynor, who testified that Morin's body was the main piece of evidence they needed to preserve. Morin was found in a few inches of water inside the drainage culvert, and due to the water and the heat, since it was summer, decomposition had already started to occur. Gaynor testified they began collecting DNA evidence from Morin's body at the scene, but the defense questioned whether they needed permission from the state medical examiner's office to do that. Gaynor testified that protocol typically requires permission from the medical examiner's office to collect DNA evidence from a body at a crime scene. but he said no one told them not to, so they made the decision to do it anyway due to the conditions outside. In Harford County, I'm Ashley Paul, WJZ.
All right, Ashley, thank you.
Yeah. So,
Meanwhile, in Annapolis,
oh,
cases like this
sorry,
again took center stage.
So that's what more or less what the mainstream media has had to say about what's happened. So what happened yesterday was the very graphic, the most graphic, hopefully so far, that people will have to sit through, where it was described the crime scene. I think photos were shown of Rachel. So the less said about that, the better. The jury will have seen the brutality that this man allegedly used. But no, it wasn't him. He wasn't even in Maryland. He's never been to Maryland. Oh my God, he wasn't in Maryland at that time, according to him. So I just cannot wait. I hope that he's going to be cross-examined today later in America, when America opens on this next day. I believe he's going to be cross-examined, and I presume that the prosecutor's going to confront him with maybe some evidence of him being in Maryland, and the DNA evidence that now the defense is calling into question. But that's all the defense has got, to be honest. So that's why they're doing it. But what I want to do now is I want to read. Hi, Daniel. I want to read you the emails that have been sent, sort of explaining what's happened in court. So we're going to start with Friday, which, I mean, I have already sort of covered more or less what happened on Friday, but it's so good to have somebody sending me information that was actually there in court, because I've had to, as I say, get my information from mainstream media, really, or any articles that I can find, etc. That's all I can do. So this was, and I think I had reported on this, that they dismissed one juror. This was Friday, before anything even started. She was an older woman who could barely walk, even with a cane. So maybe it was health concerns. And then my source says it sounds like they're trying to cast doubt on Richard Tobin. And that is, or was, Rachel's boyfriend at the time. In the opening statements, they asked why no DNA from Richard was found. So apparently Richard and Rachel had been together that morning, but there was no DNA, but Rachel probably showered. This is what's thought. But anyway, so the defense said that DNA should have been found on Rachel from this Richard because they had relations that morning. Then they said that Victor had no motive. Where's the motive? I mean, I think this is just, I remember that, them saying that, and I thought, well, the motive obviously was sex. That was the motive. What do they mean? What was the motive? It's clear what the motive is. So I'm sure the jury are not stupid, and they'll have thought that as well. And then they went on to say that Rachel attracted the attention of many men. And this person supposed that they were trying to give motive to some other unknown man instead of to the man whose DNA was found on Rachel's strangulation marks. The external DNA was all a match. Now, how's he going to explain that away, I wonder? How do you think he's going to explain that the DNA, well, they'll probably say the DNA is not reliable, but it was all a match and it came from 3 places, 2 of which were her neck and her breasts. And this person could not remember the 3rd external location. But the internal DNA had incomplete markers, so it didn't have enough to make a match. But Victor could not be ruled out. So couldn't be specified it was him exclusively, but also he could not be ruled out of it, if that makes sense. So he began apparently smashing her head into a rock by the trail. So I reckon he came up behind her. Was she listening to her earpods and he surprised her? They found blood spatter on the trail beginning at the attack location, then down the trail towards the tunnels. Before the sticker bushes, there was a large rock in the ground with blood on it. The man who found Rachel, Ivan Knapp, also said he noticed blood on the stickers. All the sticks, maybe meant sticks there. Harford County, they collected up all the bloody sticks, leaves, and rocks. And they said he also smashed her face into the side of the tunnel. This was a really brutal attack. This man is a monster, allegedly. So Rachel's 14-year-old daughter broke down on the stand twice and needed a short break to compose herself. After the prosecution finished their questions, the defense cross-examined her. And, this person is querying why. Why on earth would you cross-examine a 14-year-old girl who lost her mother and was just breaking down in front of the jury? This is what I don't like about defense lawyers, the depths they sink to. Yeah, you've got to defend people, even twonks like this, but you don't have to descend to the depths of upsetting even more a 14-year-old girl who's having to talk about her mother dying. How do they sleep at night? So they grilled her apparently on inconsistencies about minor things. Like, what time did she wake up on Saturday, August the 5th? Do you remember what time you woke up 2 years ago on August the 5th? On the stand, she said 11. So they asked, would it refresh your memory if you watch your interview video? And then they made her watch a portion of the interview she gave at around 5 a.m. on August the 6th, after she had been up all night and had searched the trail with Faye's 19-year-old friend and with Richard Tobin. So Faye is Rachel's oldest daughter. So they're grilling this girl because she's like, can't remember exactly things. I honestly God, it's foul, isn't it? So this person saw one juror cross his arms. They clearly were not happy with the defense. So the thing is, this defense lawyer's like not too clever, is he? Because surely if I was a defense lawyer, which I would never, ever, ever be, paying me millions, you wouldn't be a defense lawyer, not unless I genuinely thought someone was innocent. But the thing you've got to do is get the jury on your side, isn't it? And being nasty to teenage girls that have lost their mums or making them cry is not going to endear you or your client to the jury. But anyway, good. Maybe they're doing it on purpose because they know he's guilty. Maybe they just maybe that's their way of making it worse. I don't know. But good, because it's not going to work with the jury. The jury will not like it at all. There are other ways they could have gone with it, though I suppose they'd be struggling. They're never going to make anyone feel sorry for Victor the Viper, are they? So, but I think being nasty to Rachel's daughters or cross-examining them, etc., is just going to make things worse, isn't it? So apparently he's still shown no signs of remorse, Victor. And when Richard Tobin, Rachel's boyfriend of the time, was on the stand, there was a sidebar, which is like a brief pause, isn't it? So he was just left sitting there for a few minutes, and Richard decided to stare him down. And this person says, Victor, being a complete piece of shit, smiled at Richard. So as this guy is trying to stare him down, like Rachel's boyfriend at the time, staring down the person who has allegedly murdered his girlfriend at the time, and now his defense lawyer is trying to cast shade on him, he smiled at him. He's a piece of work, this guy. All murderers, of course, are not nice people, but this guy, he's special in that way. He's a definite serial killer in the making. He has no remorse. He has no compassion. He has nothing. There's nothing in there. So he smiled at him, but then he did break off at eye contact and look down. And this person was saying, hopefully the jury saw him smile. Because if the jury would have seen that, they wouldn't be happy with that either, would they? You know what I mean? Hi, Yvonne. So, what else did they have to tell me about that? My God. Oh, where's it gone? Oh, there it is. Let's see. So this person says they're not sure what evidence is going to be presented because nobody knows. Like as I say, the prosecutor has kept everything under a hat, which is good, and it'll hopefully come out maybe later today when she's cross-examining Victor. It come out sooner or later what evidence they've got or not got. That there's probably is some digital evidence, but we'll see. And he may have even worked there, gone drinking in the bars around there. I mean, let's not forget he was found in a bar, wasn't he? That's his lifestyle. Do you know, he's a bit of a nomad, isn't he? Wanders around. He's not a family man, thank God. He wasn't married with kids and, with a base. He's a nomad wandering around, a bit of a loner, going to these bars. And I'm sure if he was in Maryland for any length of time, no doubt he went into bars and things there. So there will be people who will have seen him. There may even be CCTV somewhere in that area that's seen him going into a shop. I mean, the police have had a long time, haven't they, to look for those kind of things. There may be CCTV that shows him going into a supermarket or something, at some point. Because the thing is, Victor's defense is he was never even in Maryland. So if something can be shown, some sort of digital evidence or witness evidence can be shown that, yes, he was in Maryland, that's straight away slam dunk, isn't it? Because the jury aren't going to believe a word he says about anything then. So I think, we are going to find that out as time goes on, probably. Now, I just want to, there was something else I wanted to read you. Where's it gone? Oh, it's on Twitter. So on X, let's have a look. So this is from a local reporter. There it is, Kate Amara, that I've been recommended to follow for updates there at the trial. And so they said the judge appeared to decide to keep most sensitive images off MDC. I don't know what that means. I hate initials because I never know what they mean. And the trial resumed. But then, in a confounding move in the last minutes of the day, the judge ordered court security to pull the plug on the live AV feed of proceedings to the media overflow room. So I think the judge is trying to keep things as private as possible, while at the same time giving the media, some sort of in the grounds of transparency, giving the media some access to what's going on, but probably out of respect to the family and that, as far as the crime scene photos are concerned, because those leak out, don't they? That's what happened in the Delphi murders, wasn't it? The actual crime scene photos of those two girls. These things should not leak out. They just shouldn't. It's enough to describe them. They don't have to be seen. It's just not fair. You wouldn't like your loved one or yourself, if you were ever a victim of, nobody would like to think that their pictures were being shown all over the world. And it is all over the world, literally now. So apparently they did that to block the press view of images being shown in open court. And the judge cut the audio too with no warning at the 11th hour, which essentially kicked reporters out of the trial for a time. And then as we push for access and then scramble to regroup. So the thing is, it's this balance, isn't it, between, sometimes we get a fully televised trial, but even in those televised trials, we don't normally, there are certain things that are only for the jury. And so it should be, not everything is for the public consumption, I think, because, there's privacy. So, privacy is important for the victim and the families. So anyway, then Kate is talking about the 911 call. See, we're not allowed, well, not yet. Whether later they'll release the 911 calls, I don't know, but at the moment they're not. So the 911 call was played for the jury. It was heart pounding. Like literally had my heart racing. Oh, it was also a masterclass in 911 call taking. Oh, we should be able to listen to that because we hear so many 911 calls that you're so frustrated and you get so angry with the 911 call handlers. Be nice, wouldn't it, to hear one where it was a masterclass in 911 call taking, because we know there are good 911 dispatchers out there. But sometimes they're not brilliant, are they? But sometimes I think what it is they're just too jaded. Sometimes that's what I've noticed. The ones that aren't very good, they're taking, at the end of the day, taking those calls day in, day out, hundreds of calls a day probably. And you must get a little bit cynical, a little bit jaded. So they do need some retraining, don't they, sometimes, or just some maybe a break or something, because any job that you're doing the same thing day in, day out, in the end, you're going to get a little bit sort of comfortable with it, not maybe as, when you first start, you'd be all enthusiastic and try and do everything right. And then as time goes, you can tell when the answer, can't you? Sometimes the answer, 911, what's your emergency? Sometimes they go, 911, what's your emergency? The same with 999 calls in the UK is probably the same all over the world. Depending on that person, depends what's happened that morning. Maybe they've had an argument with their husband or their wife, or, maybe they've got a lot going on in their own life. So, they're all human beings, but I would like to hear that call if it's a masterclass in 911 call taking. That is perhaps a call that we should be able to listen to. Anyway, so the caller was out of breath and speaking rapidly. We found the missing woman. She's dead. She's in the tunnel. Oh my God, I'm going to throw up. And the next witness was the first deputy in that tunnel. So this is where we are so far. So we've had the sort of the build up to the day, if you like, what Rachel was doing before she went off on her walk or run or whichever one it was. We've had the 911 call. We've seen, well, we haven't seen, but the jurors have been shown the crime scene and the crime scene photos, which will have been very traumatic. And also, we've heard like the defence's sort of pathetic excuse for a defense. And now it'll be gearing up. So 2 weeks it's expected to last. We're already really halfway through the first week, aren't we? We'll see what happens today when Victor gets actually cross-examined, apparently. I'd like to hear his voice as well. I'd like to hear him speaking in Spanish because I could tell what he was saying. But I don't know if we may get, apparently, this lady, she was saying that they've not been able to, there's no audio or video, allowed to be released from the trial, but they may be clips. So we may get clips, mightn't we? So her last update yesterday was Rachel Morin murder trial has concluded for the day here at Harford County Circuit Court in Bel Air. The state called 5 witnesses today, 10 in total over 2 days, including several detectives with the forensics unit of the sheriff's office. Now, let's see, I wonder if I can get any just... yeah. Oh. So I just read this, I think, this article. So the moment that Maryland mother Rachel Morin's body was found in 2023 was revisited during the second day of testimony in the trial of accused killer Victor Martinez Hernandez. Martinez Hernandez is facing first-degree murder and RAPE charges after Rachel, a mother of 5, was found brutally murdered on August 6, 2023. So let me just go down. So Detective Michael Wilsinski testified he initially went to the scene to fly his drone in hopes of locating Rachel. His actions shifted once her body was found by 2 community members. And he testified that when he got to the tunnel where Rachel's body was located, it was obvious this was not a slip and fall injury. This was a serious attack. He explained that a vast amount of evidence was found inside the tunnel, which included an Apple AirPod, a cell phone, and a lot of blood. And photos of Rachel's battered body shocked the courtroom, even leaving members of the jury wide-eyed. Bless. Where Martinez Hernandez remains stone-faced. As Detective Wilsinski explained, the bruises, bloody face, drag marks, and fly eggs already found on Rachel's body. Bless her. So he said he and his team spent nearly 5 hours processing the scene, swabbing DNA, while the field operator with the medical examiner's office was present. So those things, they're so important, aren't they? Because, it's in the sort of the trauma of finding somebody who's been murdered like that. But the most important thing is to secure the scene, take the DNA, etc. All for this, even though it might be 2 years on before like this, nearly 2 years before this all comes, to a head, but so important. Anyway, evidence collection continued well past August, according to Wilsinski, with additional swabs collected by the medical examiner's office and fingerprint analysis. He also testified he has had more than 80 hours of latent print analysis training, and he was accepted by the courtroom as an expert in that field. And the defence is expected to cross-examine the witness on Tuesday. And the chief medical examiner is also expected to testify tomorrow, which is like later. And Martinez Hernandez, who law enforcement said entered the United States unlawfully in 2023, was also tied to the assault of a child and her mother in Los Angeles and the murder of a woman in his native country of El Salvador. He was arrested in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and extradited to Maryland in June 2024. So, okay, that's what we know so far. I think that's more or less where we are. Don't think there's anything else so far. But yeah, we will have, I think we will have justice soon. I certainly hope so. But I will, as I say, be keeping you updated of any developments. Yeah, as we go along. So thank you, as I say, for caring about Rachel. I wonder if I have a little... Actually, I think what I'm going to put on to finish is that I've got a little tribute video to Rachel. I'm going to put another one together, a better one, a longer one, for when hopefully justice is achieved. But for now, I'll put this one on. I'll see you really soon in the next video. Have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever you're doing, wherever you are. I hope it goes well for you. Take care of you, because you are the most important thing. And fly free, Rachel. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Bye.